If you're a man over 60 and you've started to feel like your body just isn't responding the way it used to, if you've noticed things aren't as firm, as easy, or as frequent down there, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. What's happening isn't weakness, and it's not your fault. I can't tell you how many good, strong men I've spoken with who look at me, sometimes with shame, sometimes with quiet frustration, and whisper things they haven't even said out loud to their wives. Things like, "I just don't feel like a man anymore," or "It's like my body forgot how to be interested." But the truth is, there's something more going on beneath the surface, and once you understand what that is, once you see how surprisingly fixable it can be, the whole story changes. Now, I've been a urologist for a long time. I've seen the full spectrum, from the young guys chasing performance enhancers to older men trying to hold on to some sense of control, dignity, and connection. And I'll tell you this, most of the time, the problem has nothing to do with desire and everything to do with blood. More specifically, how well or how poorly your blood is flowing. You see, an erection isn't just about hormones or arousal or any of the flashy stuff you see advertised. At its core, it's a vascular event. It's about circulation, about blood pressure, about the ability of your arteries, some of the smallest and most sensitive in the entire body, to respond to signals and deliver blood exactly where it needs to go, and keep it there. But as we age, those tiny vessels begin to narrow. Sometimes they stiffen, sometimes they fill with plaque. And when that happens, the signal may still fire, your brain may still want to, but the body just can't execute the command. It's like trying to fill a garden hose when it's full of rust and kinks. No matter how much water pressure you apply, not much comes out the other end. One of my patients, Tom, was 67 when he came to see me, worked construction most of his life, hands like bricks, a voice like gravel, and a heart big enough to fill a room. He didn't want to come in. In fact, it was his wife who finally convinced him. When he sat down, he couldn't even look me in the eye. He said, "Doc, I love my wife. I want her, but I can't do her perform, and it's messing with my head." What struck me most wasn't the words. It was the look on his face, a quiet mix of shame and grief, like a part of his identity was fading and he didn't know how to get it back. We talked for a long time. I asked about his sleep, his eating, how often he moved his body. He mentioned he used to snack on mixed nuts back when he was younger, but had stopped. Trying to cut calories, he said. I smiled and told him maybe it's time to bring those back. Not just for the calories, but for something much deeper. Most people don't realize that some of the most powerful body-healing nutrients aren't hidden in fancy pills or expensive supplements. They're in your pantry. More specifically, they're in nuts. Certain nuts contain compounds that directly influence the same pathways those little blue pills try to manipulate. Only they do it naturally, gradually, and in a way your body actually recognizes and welcomes. I told Tom what I'm about to tell you. Sometimes restoring performance isn't about fighting age. It's about feeding the body what it's been missing. You see, when you eat the right kinds of nuts regularly, you're not just snacking. You're delivering vital compounds like L-arginine, magnesium, selenium, and plant sterols straight to the very system that powers your performance. And that system, when treated right, still has plenty of life in it. Let me walk you through the ones I recommend most. First, walnuts. These are nature's nitric oxide boosters. Nitric oxide is a molecule your blood vessels use to relax and expand. Think of it like the body's open sesame. It tells the vessels, make way, we need blood flow here. Walnuts are rich in L-arginine, an amino acid that converts into nitric oxide. This helps your arteries become more flexible, more responsive, and when those arteries in your pelvis, the ones responsible for supplying blood to that very important region, are relaxed and open, the result is not just noticeable, it's often dramatic. I've seen men improve significantly just by adding a small handful of walnuts to their daily routine. Next, pistachios. These little green gems do more than just satisfy a salty craving. They've actually been studied for their impact on erectile function. In one small but intriguing study, men who ate pistachios every day for 3 weeks saw measurable improvements, not just in blood flow, but in satisfaction and overall performance. Pistachios are rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, and something called phytosterols, which help lower bad cholesterol and improve circulation. Plus, they're high in arginine too, giving another boost to nitric oxide production. And then there are almonds, the quiet workhorses. High in vitamin E, they act as protectors of the blood vessels. Over time, oxidative stress, that's the wear and tear from inflammation, poor diet, stress, even pollution, can damage the inner lining of your vessels. Vitamin E helps shield those cells, keeping them supple and functional. When your endothelial lining, that's the inside wall of your blood vessels, is healthy, it responds better to stimulation and sends blood where it's needed more efficiently. I remember telling Tom, you don't need to eat a pound of these a day, just a small handful. But do it consistently. I could see the doubt in his eyes. He'd been burned before by promises and products that didn't deliver. But this was different. This wasn't about hype. It was about healing, one bite at a time. There's also a nut I recommend cautiously because it's powerful but needs to be respected. The Brazil nut. Just one of these contains your full daily requirement of selenium, a trace mineral most men are sorely lacking. Selenium plays a direct role in testosterone production, sperm health, and immune function. When levels are low, and they often are in older men, fatigue sets in, libido drops, and overall vitality fades. But too much can be harmful, so I always say, 1 a day. That's enough. Let the body do the rest. And finally, macadamia nuts, often overlooked but incredibly rich in monounsaturated fats, the kind your heart and blood vessels love. These fats help reduce inflammation, improve lipid profiles, and create a smoother, more stable cardiovascular environment. When the vessels are calm and free of friction, blood moves like silk. And that movement, that's what builds the foundation for healthy, lasting performance. By this point in our conversation, Tom was sitting a little straighter. He wasn't sold yet, but he was listening. I could see something shift. That glimmer of maybe. Maybe this didn't have to be the end of his story. Maybe it was just a different chapter. I told him, look, none of this is magic. It won't happen overnight. But your body responds to consistency, to nourishment, to being cared for. And that's really what this is about. Caring for the parts of you that maybe you stopped paying attention to. He nodded slowly. So, I just start eating these nuts. That's it. Well, I said, it's a start. A good one your body will recognize. And if you pair it with a few other simple things, a walk around the block, a little more water, a little less sugar, you'd be surprised what might come back to life. That was our first meeting. What came next would take a little time, a little patience, and a lot of trust in the quiet power of simple, natural choices. And if you're still with me now, maybe you're wondering the same thing Tom did. Is it really that simple? Can something as ordinary as a handful of nuts begin to rebuild the connection, the strength, the spark that once came so easily? You'll want to hear what happened next, because in the weeks that followed, Tom's story took a turn, one that I think you'll find both surprising and inspiring. As Tom began to make these small changes, introducing a handful of mixed nuts into his daily routine, committing to a short walk each day, drinking more water, and cutting back on sweets, something remarkable started to happen. At first, the changes were subtle. He told me how his energy felt steadier throughout the day, how he woke up without that nagging fatigue that had settled in over the years. But the real transformation was deeper and more intimate. One afternoon, about 3 months after his first visit, Tom returned to my office. His eyes were bright, and there was a quiet confidence in his voice that hadn't been there before. With a smile that almost broke through his usual reserved demeanor, he said, "Doc, my wife told me I looked at her like I used to, like I was really there, like I was alive. This wasn't just about erections. It was about reclaiming a piece of himself he thought was lost forever. The spark, the connection, the feeling of being whole again, it all came back, not because of a pill or a quick fix, but because of consistent, deliberate care for his body. And that care started with something as simple and as powerful as the food he chose to nourish himself." What I want you to take away from this story is that you are not your struggles and you are not your doubts. Your body remembers what it means to be strong, vital, and connected. Sometimes it just needs the right kind of fuel, and a gentle nudge to start healing. It's like tending a garden. You don't tear everything up and start over. You nurture what's already there, water the roots, clear away the weeds, and watch new growth emerge. Those nuts I talked about, they're part of that garden work. They don't promise instant miracles, but they offer steady, real progress over time. And it's not just the nuts. Tom's journey showed me how important it is to see the whole picture. Food alone can't carry the entire weight of change. Movement, hydration, rest, and reducing harmful habits, like excess sugar, are just as essential. When you combine these elements, the effect is cumulative, building on each other like bricks in a foundation. Even small steps, like choosing a brisk 20-minute walk after dinner or replacing a soda with a glass of water, can ripple outward, improving your circulation, your sleep, and your mood. It's about creating an environment inside your body that supports healing instead of resisting it. Sometimes men tell me, "I'm too old for this to matter. My body's past its prime." I understand where that voice comes from. It's a voice born from years of disappointment, from countless ads promising the world and delivering little. But I want to challenge that belief gently. Age is just a number. It's not a sentence. Your body is dynamic, and even at 60, 70, or beyond, it can respond to care, kindness, and good choices. That doesn't mean denying the realities of aging, but it does mean refusing to accept them as the final word. When you start to feel that slow, steady return of vitality, whether it's in the bedroom, in your energy levels, or just in the way you carry yourself, it's more than physical. It's deeply emotional. It restores confidence, eases anxiety, and rekindles connection. You remember what it feels like to look in the mirror and recognize the man staring back. And perhaps most importantly, you remind yourself that you're worthy of feeling this good, that you deserve to live fully, passionately, and with hope. So if you're listening to this now and wondering where to begin, here's what I encourage you to do. Start simply. Choose 3 or 4 of the nuts we discussed: walnuts, pistachios, almonds, Brazil nuts, macadamias, and make them a part of your daily routine. Just a small handful a day. Make it a ritual. Maybe it's with your morning coffee or as an afternoon pick-me-up. Notice how your body responds over the next few weeks. Pay attention to little shifts in energy, mood, sleep, or yes, intimacy. And remember, this is a journey, not a race. Some days will feel better than others. That's okay. What matters is persistence and patience, the kind that comes from self-respect rather than pressure or shame. If you have medical conditions or take medications, especially blood thinners or drugs for heart or blood pressure, talk with your doctor before making any major dietary changes. Your safety is paramount. Most importantly, hold on to the belief that your best years are still ahead, that the challenges you face today don't define your tomorrow. You have within you the strength to heal, to renew, and to reconnect, not just with others, but with yourself. That's the quiet power of care. The kind of care that begins with a humble handful of nuts but grows into a life reclaimed. I'm Dr. Alan Mercer, and I want you to know you're not alone. I've walked this path with many men, and I'm here to walk it with you. This is not hype, not a gimmick. It's a grounded, compassionate approach to your health and well-being. You deserve to feel strong, confident, and alive. If this message resonates with you, take a moment now to commit to yourself, to your health, to the possibility of change. Try adding those nuts to your diet this week. Notice how it feels. And if you want to learn more, stay tuned. In the next video, I'll share the often overlooked mineral that works hand in hand with these nuts to supercharge your blood flow naturally and safely. Until then, be kind to yourself. Your body remembers how to thrive. It's time to listen, nourish, and let that strength return. Thank you for trusting me to be part of your journey.